You are now listening to the Fantasy
Whisper
Podcast with your hosts, Johnny Game Time Hicks and Big Travy.
Why, hello and welcome to the Fantasy Whispers Podcast. That's Big Travy and I'm Johnny Game Time Hicks, and we're here to give you that fantasy football fix and get you ready for Week 7 matchups part 2, as I like to say. Travis, how you doing, buddy?
I am doing fantastic. I hope the Whisper Nation is doing fantastic. And Johnny, I hope you're doing fantastic because, listen, we are about to be through Week 7 of the NFL season, just over halfway of the fantasy football regular season.
Hey,
things are starting to heat up.
kind of like Fergie said, you know, can you meet me halfway? Right at the Week 7 borderline is where we gonna stay.
And we literally just lost all 5 of our subscribers with that singing.
I don't know. Or we just gained 5 subscribers. Depends. If they like, dude, they
might think it's like a Fergie fan video that we're doing here.
Okay, you know William Hung, you know how many hits that guy, like that guy went viral, okay? And could he sing a lick? No. So you never know. You could be thanking me right now. You should be thanking me.
Yeah, that was more like funny. People aren't going to go viral because they pity you.
Okay. Well, all right. Well, we are now on episode, geez, Travis, what is it, 34 now?
That's right.
34 of the Fantasy Whispers podcast. This has been awesome. This has been a great journey, and we're going to dive into part 2 of the Week 7 breakdowns. All right, Travis, let's get it going, buddy. You ready?
Let's do it.
All right, first up on the slate, we got the Houston Texans at the Jacksonville Jaguars, Travis. I'm actually really excited for this game. This is a divisional game. This is a 41-point over-under in Vegas, a very low-scoring point projection here. Jacksonville is favored by 4 points. All right, Travis, we're going to start with this Houston Texans defense, or Houston Texans offense here, which has kind of been a little bit troubling, right? Coming into the season, Deshaun Watson, you and I were split on Deshaun Watson. And it seemed like after a few weeks, we expected a slow start. Both of us did expect a slow start. However, after a few weeks, he started to seem like he was kind of getting the groove. This offense was humming, right? It was one of the most potent offenses between the touchdowns. And yet when they get into the red zone, it was like all of a sudden you put the clamps down and they couldn't score a touchdown. So, Travis, this is coming off Deshaun Watson's worst game as an NFL starting quarterback, going against a Jacksonville Jaguars defense that has been, giving up major yardage over the last few weeks. However, they come back home, they get some of that home cooking. What do you expect out of Deshaun Watson and this offense? And what do you expect out of this Jags defense? Can you trust them as a fantasy starter this weekend? Knowing that Deshaun Watson is a mobile quarterback, and that's what they've been torn up by the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, no, that's definitely the caveat here is that he is mobile. I think the difference, though, is that his line has been giving up the NFL's second worst amount of sacks this year with 25 on the season. That's an average of about 4 per game, Johnny. That's not good against a defensive front in Jacksonville that is really talented. And so for me, yes, he'll have his game rushing. I mean, they just gave up 82 rushing yards to Dak Prescott. They gave up 52 rushing yards to Marcus Mariota earlier in the year. So I think that there's a way to attack them there, but I think you can't attack the secondary. And I think it's a collision course of an offense kind of trending down in Houston with a defense trending down as well. And which one's going to break? So which one will have the good game? I'm going to bet on the home team, the favored team, the more talented. I would say that the Jacksonville Jaguars are more talented on defense than the Houston Texans are talented on offense.
Okay.
And so for me, I'm going to lean on the Jacksonville Jaguars here in this showdown. I do think it's a get-right game for them, especially with the way that Deshaun has been playing as of late.
All right. Lamar Miller, how comfortable or confident do you feel starting him?
I'm staying away from him as well. If you read my player stay away article on the fantasywhisperers.com, it's my take on a start sit column. And I basically highlight here about Lamar Miller and why you should stay away. And that's basically because the Jags have been stingy against enemy backs. They've only allowed 18 points on the year, which is good, or 18 points per game. And that's good for sixth best. So they are in the top 10 against enemy running backs. And I think that Miller, who's only averaging 3.7 yards per carry, has not really been getting the job done this year. And it's not going to start here against Jacksonville.
All right. Nuke, you're going to play him. I understand he's going against Ramsey. However, last year he did have his way with Ramsey. So you're definitely going to roll him out.
It's DeAndre Hopkins. He's great. Last week he had Tre'Davious White all over him, still scored a touchdown, still came in and gave you a good fantasy day. You're rolling him out there. I'm not worried about him. All
right. Next up, we have let's just touch on the Jaguars. No confirmation yet, but it's looking like TJ Yeldon will be the starting running back over there. It looks like Fournette's going to be out. Are you nervous that the Houston Texans defense has actually been stepping up a little bit? But you're still going to roll him out, right?
Yeah,
especially with the bye weeks.
And he's averaging 18 touches, so he's been getting a workhorse sort of role here. Monitor the health. I think that they brought in Jamal Charles to help buffer because of all the injuries, but I think that TJ Yeldon is a great start this week. Not a great start, but a start that you have to basically roll out, like you said, due to buys and due to availability.
Sure. Okay. None of these? Were you rolling out any of these wide receivers? I feel like you can't really trust any of them.
Like D.D. Westbrook is an interesting guy that continues to get good work.
Yeah. PPR leagues.
But that's about it. I don't really trust Blake Bortles in this matchup.
Yeah.
Especially as much as we talk about Jacksonville, I think this is, you talked about the low over-under. They only have 20-point team totals for both of these teams and less in the case of Houston. But 20-point team totals is not a lot of points to be going around when we just said that TJ Yeldon is the better start. So he is probably more likely to score than any of those wide receivers.
All right. Moving on to the next game. We've got the Detroit Lions coming off a bye at the Miami Dolphins, who came off of that crazy I don't even know if do you call
Kenyon
it a comeback?
Drake, dude.
Man, yeah. So
that fumble at the goal line was just the epitome of all the fantasy owners that drafted Kenyon Drake.
Yeah,
you're so close to such a what a heroic way to win.
He was untouched.
Just what are you doing?
Oh man. Okay, so this is a 47-point over under. Miami is favored by 3 somehow, some way. I don't know. Maybe they haven't gotten the news that the Brock Monster is going to play again and start. Ryan Tannehill has some kind of injury, still unknown exactly what is wrong with him. Coach is not really. I don't even think the coach is really certain, to be honest with you. I don't think he even knows. But when you talk about some of these pass catchers for the Miami Dolphins, I mean, Albert Wilson is a top. He's a wide receiver 2 at the moment. However, he's probably on a lot of people's waiver wires, or he was just picked up this week because he had a monster game of 155 yards receiving this week. Travis, are you rolling out any of these wide receivers for the Miami Dolphins?
Yeah, I kind of like Albert Wilson, and I'll tell you why. You've talked about how he's warming up. He now leads the team in targets, Johnny, with 32. Mm-hmm. And so at the beginning of the year, he was running 12.3 routes per game in those first 3 weeks. And since then, he's running 28.7 routes per game. He is definitely a guy that Brock Osweiler looked to last week. I think that should continue here. And Wilson has, not the same speed as Tyreek, but he has run one of the fastest plays in the NFL, and the other ones are Tyreek Hill's plays.
Right.
So I think that Albert Wilson is a guy worth a stash, worth a play this week, especially against Detroit, who has not stopped anybody through the air, really, this year. And so, yeah, I mean, give me Wilson. I don't really want anybody else because I think they're too volatile. Wilson is actually shaping up to be a guy that, we've talked about it for many weeks. Who will be the number one for Miami? It's a different guy each week. It's actually shaping up to be Wilson a little bit here.
You know what I think the Miami Dolphins should do? And this is, call me crazy. They should go to Brock in the beginning of the game and just say, Brock, we're in overtime, dude. Play like we're in overtime. You know that he is
dude.
Five.
You know what they got to do?
He's 5-0 in overtime. He's undefeated in overtime.
Well, check this out. They should just tell him that he's playing the Bears every time.
Yeah, exactly.
Because in every career start he's had with all of his teams, he's beaten the Bears.
Yeah. I mean,
so he's the Bear Slayer, he's the Bear Killer.
All right.
Like, you want to win a drink at a bar? Like, you tell him that. Tell him Brock Osweiler, when he started for Denver, beat the Bears. And when he started for the Texans, beat the Bears. And when he started for the Dolphins, he beat the Bears.
Hey. Yeah, I already know, dude.
That's why we took the damn field.
Yep.
Now, if you want to crown them, then crown their ass. But they are who we thought they were. And we let them off the hook.
Exactly. All right. And moving toward, Frank Gore, you're starting Frank Gore over Kenyon Drake, or do you think Drake kind of has a bounce back week?
I'm taking Frank Gore. I don't love it, but I like Frank Gore in this matchup, and that's only because Kenyon Drake continues to see his work decline in the running game. A goal line fumble that almost cost them the game is not going to be something
untouched
that makes Adam Gase want to continue to start him or continue to give him more work. And they love Gore. He's always loved Gore. He loves these veterans. Yeah, I'll roll Gore out there instead of Kenyon Drake. I would just try to get rid of these guys.
When you're looking at the other side of the ball, you got the Detroit Lions. You got Matthew Stafford, who's actually been decent this year. He's been playable as a fantasy option. And then you've got this running back kind of committee here, but it seems to be leaning like they're finally letting Kerryon Johnson do his thing. They're finally realizing like he is the best running back in that backfield. However, they continue to give the goal line carries to Mr. LaGerrette Blount, who continues to, he'll rush for, 5 times for 4 yards, but 2 touchdowns. Are you going to roll out? Are you rolling out LaGerrette Blount here? Or are you confident that he will get at least one?
No, you're gross. I'm sorry to cut you off, Johnny, but I'm tired of talking about LaGerrette Blount. Okay,
maybe you should.
Of running backs, there's 4. Listen,
do you want a Blount to smoke?
I need one to talk about LaGerrette Blount. Matt Patricia, look at me in this flipping camera right now. Okay, look at me, Matt Patricia.
Look at me.
Where's Kerryon? Where is he? In the red zone. Where is he? No, seriously.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Like, here's the thing, okay? There are 47 running backs with 50 or more touches on the season. And LaGerrette Blount is dead last. He's 47th with 2.62 yards per touch. He sucks, Matt Patricia. He sucks, and now you're going to suck if you continue to give him the ball.
Oh.
Give the ball to Kerryon Johnson.
All right.
My name is Travis Caples, Big Travy Fantasy Whispers, and I approve this message.
And I second that message. All right.
Yeah, I'm just sick of it, Johnny.
Yeah.
Kerryon Johnson is clearly, you see it every week. He is the better running back. Give him the ball more. Quit giving the ball to LaGerrette Blount.
Yeah.
You can do everything you want to do. Like, Jim Bob Cooter has got to be like killing himself that Patricia probably still does this.
Yeah.
Because
Coots,
you can see it. Like, you can see what Kerryon Johnson brings to your team if you're able to throw to him because he can catch the ball.
Mm-hmm.
He runs like a man possessed.
Yeah.
He's great. He's a great runner. He's a great running back. I've liked him all off season. I still continue to like him. If you can buy him, which is a little hard now, but after the buy, he was dinged up. Try and get him off owners. I think you'll be paid off. The Detroit wide receivers, Johnny, I rank them in this order: Kenny Golladay, Golden Tate, Marvin Jones.
Yep.
You're going out with those guys in that order. I do think that Marvin Jones gets a little bit of an uptick in this game, and that's because Xavier Howard will be likely lined up against Kenny Golladay.
Kenny G.
And so therefore I like Golden Tate, and I like Marvin Jones in this game.
All right, we're going to move on here to the next game. We got I'm excited for this game too. We got the New Orleans Saints at the Baltimore Ravens. This is a 50.5 over-under. Baltimore is favored by 2.5 points. Travis, what do you make of this Mark Ingram, Alvin Kamara split that, the last time we saw it was 2 weeks ago. It was Mark Ingram's first game back from the suspension, and surprise, surprise, Alvin Kamara had very, very few touches. A lot of Alvin Kamara owners were on full tilt. Ingram got the majority share. He also had 2 touchdowns. Travis, I'll let you start off this debate because I got what I want to say and what I want to think, but I want you to probably be the more rational one here. Out of the oh my goodness, I want you to be the more rational one here.
I think that the game that we saw on Monday night before their bye was a very weird one. They wanted to get those records for Drew Brees. They leaned on Drew Brees, and then they were up big. They leaned on the running game. I think it was a very weird, welcome back, Mark Ingram. We like you. We love you. You met us at the airport. We'll give you some work. They'd been giving so much work to Alvin Kamara. I don't think that it's beyond far-fetched that they took a load off of him and eased him into the bye because they were giving him so much work. And so I think at the end of the day, we're going to see closer to the end of last year where it was more of a 50-50 split. I think it'll be a 60-40 Ingram leading on rushing and a 70-30 Alvin Kamara leading on passing downs. I think for this game specifically, Mark Ingram is a guy I'm avoiding if I can. And that's because the Baltimore Ravens are nasty against the run. I mean, they are the best team in the NFL against the run. I don't want any part of Mark Ingram. The Ravens on average allow only 85.5 yards to the running backs. That's going to be a split. Ingram's not going to get all 85 of those yards. Some of those are going to go to Kamara. So for me, in this game, I would avoid Ingram. I think it sets up better for Kamara in this actual game, but I think they're both going to be very fine for the rest of the year.
All right, I'm going to let you finish, but I'm actually not really going to because
I just finished.
I'm
you're good.
Okay.
No, so don't worry about it because I just finished. I just dropped the knowledge on you.
Thing.
You don't even have to do anything else.
No.
In fact, the show's over. Thank you. I'm Big Travy. That's Johnny Game Time.
No,
we're out.
In all seriousness, the Baltimore Ravens have yet to face an offense like this New Orleans Saints offense. That's number one. Number two, Ingram versus Kamara. I think that Kamara will still be somewhat fantasy relevant, but I've been arguing this all offseason, and I will continue to see it. Or continue to argue it until I get proven wrong. And I don't think that I'm going to get proven wrong this weekend either. Why would they want to use and waste up Alvin Kamara when Mark Ingram is going to be a free agent at the end of this year? They're not going to re-sign him. They can both do relatively the same thing. Is Mark Ingram as effective as Alvin Kamara? No, and I'll be the first one to say not even close. But can Mark Ingram get the job done? Absolutely. Can you save Alvin Kamara from taking a beating this year because you want to use him next year and in your future, and Mark Ingram's not in your future? Absolutely. And I think, and everyone wants to say, oh, well, Mark Ingram is just the between the tackles guy. Mark Ingram can catch really, really well. We saw him take a screen pass to the end zone last week or 2 weeks ago. So this thing of, Alvin Kamara is the only one that can catch out. No, it's not true. Mark Ingram can catch out of the backfield as well.
Whoa.
No. So I'm not saying that you're saying that he can't catch, but okay. So you're saying Baltimore Ravens only get 85 yards on the ground. Well, is Mark Ingram going to get all of that? Probably not. He didn't even get that the other night. He had 50 yards rushing. Do I think he'll get 50 yards rushing? Yes. Do I think he'll get in the end zone? Yes. Do I think he'll catch two to four balls out of the backfield for another 30 to 40 yards? Yes. So I think that he's going to be a very, very solid play. I think he is a borderline RB1, RB2 rest of season. Alvin Kamara, if he doesn't show up at the end of in this game, if they again give him less than 8 touches,
can we do a whisper wager that Alvin Kamara will score more than Mark Ingram in this game?
Yes.
Okay. So that's happening.
That's happening.
And if I hear you say that the Ravens haven't played anybody good again, I'm going to freak out. They've played the Bengals and the Steelers already this year. Those are very good offenses this year. So I don't want to hear that again.
They got up really quickly on the Steelers. The Bengals, they didn't. Okay.
They got up really quickly, and they can't. That's not possible against the Saints. The Saints have been torched this year, Johnny. They've been absolutely torched.
I don't
except for by Washington, who has Alex Smith at quarterback. So and no wide receivers. So I listen. I don't want to spend all day on this.
Bet.
In this matchup,
I'll take that bet you're gonna regret because I'm the best it's ever been. That's all I gotta say.
In this matchup, I like AK a lot more than Ingram in this matchup. I think it sets up a little bit better. I want to talk about Michael Thomas going up against Jimmy Smith. I do not like Michael Thomas this week either.
Yeah,
I think this is going to be a game of Alvin Kamara and maybe some of the ancillary guys like Cameron Meredith, maybe Ben Watson gets involved. That's how they're going to do it against Baltimore. For me, New Orleans the Ravens are good, man. They're a good defensive squad. They're a good offensive squad. This is going to be a good game. I'm excited for it for football purposes. On the other side of the ball, Johnny, unless you want to touch on anybody here, I mean, you're not benching Michael Thomas, but just temper expectations. Jimmy Smith is a very good cornerback.
Yes.
On the other side of the ball, the Ravens. I want to talk a little bit about John Smokey Brown because he started off the year so hot right now. He started off the year so hot, but he's after the last couple weeks, not so much. And Michael Crabtree reemerged last week. So what's your take on John Brown?
He was locked up against the number 1 corner last week. So a lot of people were like, "Oh, well, he's disappearing." Did he? Yeah, but he's still he got the majority of targets again last week. Crabtree had the better game. This is kind of splitting more of a 50-50 split, in which we kind of thought it would be. But give me John Brown in this matchup. Again, you just brought it up. The Saints defense is not very good, and Joe Flacco still loves to do the deep ball. So can I imagine John Brown catching a deep ball for a touchdown? Absolutely. So and that all it takes is one of those plays, and there's your fantasy game for John Brown, right? So I do like John Brown in this game. I don't think
Flacco worth the stream.
A lot of people have been saying that. I think he's, like I said, I still prefer
Andy Dalton. I'm taking Andy Dalton. I'm taking Jameis Winston. I'm taking Baker Mayfield. I'm taking Jared Goff. All of these guys I'm taking above Joe Flacco. And dare I say Eli Manning against Atlanta?
I don't know if I'd go that far. I don't know.
Like Eli Manning or Joe Flacco this week?
I think I would go Joe Flacco in that case because I don't trust the offensive line for the Giants. And Eli has just been
That's a good point.
So bad. Like
I think with Evan Ingram back, I think the Giants are a sneaky bet to win this game. I think the Giants actually are in a nice bounce back spot here.
We'll get into the Giants,
but we'll get to that game. Anything else here? The breakdown for the running backs here. I think that we've kind of watched as Alex Collins has taken a little bit more of a lead role in this. Yeah. Obviously, things tend to change week to week with Baltimore based on who fumbles this week.
Yeah.
But I really like Alex Collins, what he's done the last couple weeks.
Yeah, for sure. I would, if I had to roll out one of these two guys, I would go with Collins. And I love we talked about it on IG. We hopped on there on a live, and you texted in, so I much appreciate that. But we both agreed. Someone asked literally the same question, Bucky or do you go Collins? We both agreed that it was Collins. So give us Collins in this one. All right, Travis, we're going to move on to the next game here, and that's the Dallas Cowboys at the Washington Redskins, or Washington football team. My question is, okay, so this is a 41.5 over-under. Washington is favored by 1.5 points. I don't know if there's a more confusing team than this Washington Redskins team, right?
God.
Like, It baffles me.
I was texting a buddy of mine. He's a Redskins fan. I said, there is not a more Jekyll and Hyde team than the Redskins. They turned around, and we talked about this, Johnny. They were favored against Carolina, and it just blew my mind that they were favored after they got blown out by New Orleans.
Mm-hmm.
And Carolina had been playing so good, and lo and behold, like Vegas knows its stuff because Carolina dropped an egg.
Yep.
And Washington's defense, which is a little bit it's the shining star for this team, is their defense, and it's been really good, especially against wide receivers. And that's what we kind of saw is that Carolina didn't really have a wide receiving weapon there to challenge that, and the Cowboys aren't a team that has one either.
Yeah.
So for me, the 41.5 point over-under means start both those defenses in this game, and you can feel comfortable doing that. Zeke is your only play on the Cowboys, really. I mean, am I wrong?
Yeah, no, I'm not going anybody else here.
And then on the Redskins side of the ball, I think you have to roll Jordan Reed out. You feel bad about what he's been doing, but he still got 9 targets last week.
Yeah.
He just didn't catch a ton. Smith wasn't hitting him as he normally is, very accurate. I think actually with Chris Thompson back, that could help Jordan Reed because it could open up the offense. So let's monitor if Chris Thompson comes back.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Thompson, you'd throw out there for Washington?
I would because this defense, I think that what we saw last week from this defense is kind of a little bit more of this situation. They were able to kind of sit back a little bit more and kind of pick off the Mr. Blake Bortles there. So yeah, if
Alex Smith isn't a guy that's going to make a ton more mistakes, and they're definitely like if CT's there, he can check down.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm good with that. I'm not really starting anybody else on this Redskins offense.
Yeah, Cowboys defense been pretty good against the run. I'm not starting AP here if I can avoid it.
Yeah. All right, moving on to the next game, we got the LA Rams at the San Francisco 49ers. This is a 53-point over-under. The Rams are favored by 9.5, Travis. Is this a trap game for the Rams? We saw Beathard come off of a surprising game against your Green Bay Packers. Luckily, the Packers were able to come back in that game. But
yeah, typical Green Bay Packers, just making me sweat it out, giving me a heart attack.
That's what we love sports for, right? It's the drama.
CJ Beathard and Goodwin definitely made you feel like this could be the Goodwin connection that we wanted out of Jimmy Garoppolo. And you know who else looked really good in that game is Matt Breida.
Yeah.
So I think if we're talking about San Francisco here, listen, we have the Rams ranked as our number 1 defense going into the week. And you could catch all of our rankings up live on the website now at thefantasywhisperers.com. But we have them ranked number 1, and that's because the Niners have just been ravaged with injury all over their offense. Even their wide receivers are all banged up. George Kittle's banged up. But I think that you can start I wouldn't start Beathard, but I think he's worth a look in 2 quarterback leagues. If you're looking for a deep play, if you're in a 14-team league, he's maybe worth a start.
Well, shout out. I want to give a shout out to a fan when we were doing an Instagram live, and they asked, Beathard or Alex Smith, and I was kind of taken back at first. Yeah, at first I was like Alex Smith, and then as I started to think about, it
was funny. You said, I think you said something like, "If those are your 2 options, man."
Yeah. That's a little bit of a worry there, but it could have been a 2 quarterback league, and actually Beathard has actually played. He has had some pretty good games. So Beathard has been interesting. The guy I want to talk about, Travis, is Raheem Mostert. Thank you.
Mostert. Yeah, Mostert.
Who surprised? I mean, I think by now every single fantasy player has seen the Matthew Berry blow up.
Oh my God,
on Instagram. And if you haven't,
so unreal.
It's hilarious, and I totally feel this pain because I definitely have been there. Maybe not to that extent, but I have definitely.
Well, we all know who Matthew Berry is, right? I mean, he is the resident in this industry, and he says in the 30 years that he's been playing this game, he's never had a bad beat that bad, and you could tell. I mean, he was flipping fired up, dude.
He was totally fired up.
So do yourself a favor and check that out. It's really funny.
So
really cool.
Getting back to this, he had he had a lot.
Mostert.
Mostert. Thank you. Who surprisingly came into this game. Burita had
Out
the
of
touchdown.
nowhere. Like, where did Alfred Morris go? What is going on?
Right, there was an APB out for Alfred Morris, right?
On the milk carton.
On the milk carton, exactly. But he comes in and he has 12 carries for 87 yards. He's averaging is 7.3 yards per touch or per carry in this offense, which is surprisingly, Travis, ranked the number 2 offensive line for run blocking in the league right now. So if Burita is a go, how confident would you say in starting Mostert, or where and also if Burita can't go, if
Burita can't go, Mostert's a RB2
against this Rams defense that has been pretty stout.
It's been stout. It hasn't been impenetrable, and that's because the linebackers are the issues here. So yes, Sue and Donald are tough, but if you can actually get around those guys, they don't have much behind them and defensively in the linebacking core.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that they're definitely attackable on the ground. And I actually like Breda to be a big play this week. I like him as an RB2 borderline, and he's got upside. And he definitely finally took the step last week as the red zone guy, because he had never been that before. And he definitely got that with Morris disappearing on us. On the other side of the ball, Johnny, we got the Los Angeles Rams. No Cooper Kupp. He'll be out with an MCL sprain or strain or whatever. It depends on who you're reading it. But he'll be out, which means a big upgrade for me to Robert Woods. Robert Woods is a heck of a start. Brandon Cooks is a heck of a start against this. The 49ers secondary cannot stop a nosebleed. They are just ridiculous. And they get torched every week, and so I think those are great plays.
They're about as bad at the corner position as the Arizona Cardinals are on the run game position.
Exactly.
You want to start your wide receivers against them for sure. Anybody else? And you're gonna. I mean, Todd Gurley continues to be the fantasy MVP. He's insane.
You mean God Gurley?
Yeah, exactly. You're rolling him out each and every single week. Travis,
speaking of bad defenses,
hold on. Before we jump into the game, this is I know. I'm sorry because that was a great intro. I apologize, but I think it's very very important, right? We're starting to get at what point do you start to, because right now we're kind of still in the all right, we're just casting our net to as many different options as we can, right? Like we're picking up as many different kind of backfields or shares as we can. Todd Gurley, we've seen, has been just an absolute monster, right? And there have been reports and the limited action that we've seen out of Brown, the backup to Todd Gurley. At what point do you say, you know what, I'm not, if you're a Todd Gurley owner, is he a must roster at this very moment? Or at what point does he become a must roster?
I think the point that we saw, listen, after a few games, you should have been rostering him because of the rate that the Rams are in the red zone.
Oh yeah,
they are constantly in the red zone. Gurley scores multiple touchdowns a game. He has 9 touchdowns on the year, Johnny, through 6 games.
Mm-hmm.
So at that rate, even if homeboy Malcolm Brown,
mm-hmm.
came in and did half of that, that would be 4 touchdowns in 9 games. So I'm just saying, like, they are a very highly efficient offense. You want that backup. Yeah. It's one of the clear-cut situations that if Gurley went down, they would feed Malcolm Brown because that's the style of this offense that McVay runs. It has the one single back that can catch. Malcolm Brown can catch. Mm-hmm. We've seen him flash in limited time, spelling Gurley during blowouts. He's good. You have to roster him. You have to handcuff guys like Gurley. I think that Christian McCaffrey is another one because of CJ Anderson being so effective. Like, there's guys out there you should handcuff And then there's guys that, you're not sure behind him if he would be the guy. But this is one of those where I think, yes, as you gear up for that playoff stretch, you need that insurance.
All right.
Moving on to the Bengals at the Chiefs. Sunday night game. It got flexed up to the Sunday night because basically NBC realizes if they put Patrick Mahomes on TV, people will tune in. Yeah. It is a 58.5. Yes. We are watching something special here, guys. Yes. In Patrick Mahomes, a.k.a. the man baby. The dude is like a child.
Yeah, it's just...
He's got this weird Kermit the Frog voice, and he just looks like a very little boy.
Yeah.
But
he doesn't play like
and then
one.
And then he throws it like a man.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. Anyways, 58.5 point over-under. Kansas City favored by 6. The Bengals come to town. They're a very good offense, Johnny. We talked about it earlier in the show. Joe Mixon, Tyler Boyd, A.J. Green. And one of my plays this week is C.J. Uzomah. I really like C.J. Uzomah in this matchup. I think you can literally start anybody on offense, maybe not John Ross or obviously Mark Walton, but like literally the Bengals, main weapons, you're rolling them all out there in a nice favorable matchup. Yep. On the other side of the ball, there's not anybody on Kansas City
that you're not going to start.
That I'm not going to start. Maybe right. Sammy Watkins if you have a better option, because Sammy has seen his targets and catches go down each and every week. I just don't know. I don't understand. In the first 3 weeks, he was getting a good amount of the market share. Then it's tilted to Kelsey in the couple weeks, and then it tilted to Tyreek again. So it's just a lot of mouths to feed syndrome. Like that's what's going to happen with this offense. But I think in this game where it's a high over under, you can start all of them.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to add before we move on to the Monday night game?
Nope. That's it.
All right. So Monday night, Johnny, the Giants come into Atlanta, 54.5 point over under. Atlanta favored by 4.5 points. I think we talked about this before. I think this is a get right game for OBJ. Atlanta is just absolutely just Swiss cheese when it comes to pass defense. I think Evan Ingram's a fine play here. Saquon Barkley, of course. And I think due to buys and due to streaming capabilities, you're looking at Eli Manning here. The Falcons have allowed a QB1 in every single game. So for me, I think you're okay rolling out Eli Manning here.
Yep, for sure. Well, not for sure. I don't think
I know it's hard to trust him, but I just feel like the matchup's too good. If he fails you here, he should be eliminated from your league.
Yeah, he should just stop playing football.
He's on. You know how they have the do not drop list?
Yeah.
He'd be on the do not add list.
Right, exactly.
You could never add him after that.
Are you firing up pretty much all? You're on the Giant side of the ball. Obviously,
I don't really want any part of Sterling Shepard. Okay. I just think it's too volatile. I think you're not going to be if Evan Ingram's back. That is.
Yeah.
I don't want Sterling Shepard. It looks like Evan Ingram's back. If Evan Ingram somehow misses, I don't think you'd be able to do this because it's a Monday night game. But then Shepard would. But other than that.
Yeah, that would be really risky. When you're looking at the other side of the ball, you've got Stephen Ridley, who's banged up, and Mohamed Sanu.
Calvin Ridley.
Yeah, why do I keep saying Stephen Ridley? Like that guy is. He was never that good of a football player. Why do I keep bringing him up?
Whoa, right. Dude! Whoa.
Hey, yeah, I'll be the first one to say it. Yeah,
Ridley rage.
Yeah, Ridley rage. All right, so Calvin Ridley and Mohamed Sanu both banged up here. I think you're gonna have to look at other options, Travis, just because. I don't know if you're going to get word completely if they're out or not.
Well, look at Saturday.
Game. Yeah.
Basically, because the good news is Dan Quinn came right out and said, I'm hopeful both of these guys are going to be ready.
Yeah.
So it sounds like they're giving them a lot. I mean, they also said a lot of things about Freeman, and then Freeman ended up on the IR. So there's some things to watch there. I think Johnny's got a good point. Even though this is a great matchup for both those wide receivers and for my boy Julio Jones, who will absolutely destroy and just breathe the soul of all the players on the flippin' Giants defense on Monday. You mark my words. Okay. Let's just hope that he somehow gets in the end zone, which...
Yeah, we'll see. I thought that last week he would for sure, and I was wrong once again.
Yeah, I mean, he only played the number one team or the team that gave up the number one most amount of touchdowns in the league.
Yeah.
But he still didn't score.
Yeah. Apparently, you didn't watch our video on Instagram about the Benadryl that we had his back. You snuck in before the game. You put the Benadryl on his jock strap. He would have been.
And what did he do? He just went off. He went off for 140 plus yards, and then no touchdowns.
Yeah, he's just like,
I'm just begging you, Julio, please.
Oh, I can't go in this. I'm running towards the end zone. Oh, I can't get in there. I can't. It's just a dead end. All right.
Ugh.
But the big news, Travis, and I think we'll end the show with this because I think it's very important. Ito Smith was probably the number one waiver wire option in your waivers this week. After the news that the Devontae Freeman is going to be out essentially for the rest of the year with a groin injury. So you've got that. So, and then Tevin Coleman is still in. So, Travis, from your point of view, how confident are you in playing either one of these guys for this weekend? Excuse me.
I am confident in Tevin Coleman, and I'm actually confident in Tevin Coleman as an RB2, and I'm confident in Ito Smith as a flex.
Okay.
Because I think that he's going to get some red zone work, so he could score, and the Giants are just, getting thrashed by running backs. They're getting thrashed by everybody for the most part.
Ito Smith has been the red zone guy for this team. He's had the majority of. He's actually had the most.
My problem with Ito Smith is he has not been good running the football. But the benefit for Ito Smith is that he's been good after the catch when he catches the football. And when he was in college, he did a lot of work receiving as a receiving back. So I think what we're actually seeing is Tevin Coleman shift into the Devonta Freeman role.
I disagree.
Ito Smith shift into the Tevin Coleman role.
I disagree.
And I think
it's going to be I think that Ito Smith will take the Devonta Freeman role because that's what he's more built like. He's more of a Devonta Freeman clone, and I think that Tevin Coleman.
He better get better at running because there was literally nobody better. There was very few running backs better than Devonta Freeman on first down, and Ito Smith needs to get better running the football.
I'm not saying that he's going to be as good, but I'm saying that I think that they will trust Ito Smith to be more of that guy than they will Tevin Coleman. I think Tevin Coleman.
So I don't understand your argument here because basically when we talked about the Saints, you said a guy in the contract year is going to get used more because he's in the contract year. But now we're talking about we're talking about Tevin Coleman, who is in a contract year and is gone. Why wouldn't they want to run him as the back that's getting all the abuse?
Because I'll tell you why. One, Ito is a rookie, so why not see what you have in Ito? Because you have Freeman. You're going to use Freeman next year. Once he comes back from surgery, you're going to use him. It's not the same situation. Ito, you have no idea. Alvin Kamara, you know exactly what you have in Alvin Kamara. You have one of the best running backs in the league. Ito Smith, you could have a good running back. You could have a bad running back. You could have a mediocre running back. If they use him in the Devonta Freeman role and they see that, hey, this guy's actually really, really good, we're going to next year put him in the Tevin Coleman role and we'll have Freeman as his normal role. We don't have to draft a running back this year. However, if you bring him in and you're like, oh, I don't want to use, I'm going to use up Tevin Coleman. Well, now you're going to go into the draft and you're going to say, do we need a running back or do we not, or should we go in a different position?
I still think if they're playing for the long term, they're going to use Ito Smith in the role that complements Freeman. They have Freeman on the books for a lot longer. So Freeman is part of their long-term plan.
Correct.
So use Ito Smith as the complement to Tevin Coleman in the run game and see if he can fill that role out first.
I mean, but we've already seen Ito Smith be in the Ito Smith has already been playing the Freeman role to an extent, not to a full extent.
I was going to say but to an extent. Game.
But
really, the game before he got a little bit of red zone work, but it was Tevin Coleman who carried him.
But,
I know.
But they were all three playing that game. I'm saying that you look at his stature, he's 5'8", 195 pounds, and I think that he fits more into the Devonta Freeman clone. I'm not saying he's as good as Devonta Freeman. Please don't do that.
I disagree. I disagree. I think it's going to be. I think they'll work Coleman as more of the workhorse, like grind it out back, and then they're going to use Smith as the. But we don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, we have no idea. We have a very limited.
I'm just a fantasy and analytics person. I don't know anything.
we have limited work to see, so I think that he's worth the pickup because of the upside, the opportunity that he's going to have, the the first crack he's going to get at doing something for this offense.
He's going to release the Kraken for sure.
Johnny happens to own Ito Smith in our league of records, so
and I've done a lot of research on him.
He might just be doing a little bit. He might just be having a little bit of bias here, but we'll just save that for another episode. I think Ito Smith takes a backseat to Tevin Coleman this week with the upside of taking over a more serious role. I'm not saying what you're saying is out of the realm of possibility. I just think based on what contract situations they have there in Atlanta, it makes sense to go a different route. But anyways, I don't have anything else, Johnny. Austin Hooper, I did want to touch on Austin Hooper. Great start here. I think he's just been a very integral part of this offense, especially with Freeman going down. It seems like Hooper has kind of been the guy to step up for the lack of a very effective running game there. For sure. Has been Austin Hooper. So Austin Hooper here. I don't have anything else here. Johnny, do you want to tell the Whisper Nation where they can catch us, catch the podcast, and catch some of our social media stuff?
For sure. So if you're looking for more of our podcasts, please check us out on any platform where you can get your podcasts: Stitcher, Google Play, Apple Podcasts, as well as check us out on YouTube. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and the little bell, ding, so that way you can get notified any single time we drop a new video on YouTube. It's very, very awesome. As well as check us out on Instagram. We do a lot on Instagram. We mentioned it several times during this show. We're on there quite a bit. We've got graphics that'll help you through the week. We've also got videos that we're putting up. We're going live every day so we can help answer your lineup questions or any waiver question or anything like that. As well as check us out on thefantasywhispers.com. Travis puts up his articles weekly, and as well as you can catch our rankings over there, so make sure you do that. Anything else, Travis, before I let Whisper Nation go?
Listen, Whisper Nation, if you're listening to this podcast, that means you're doing your final preparation for your week. We want to wish you the best of luck. And if you're looking for that last-minute advice, hit up our Instagram story. We'll be answering questions there. And, of course, hit us up on Instagram 1 hour before game time. We do our Instagram live show every Sunday. We'll be answering those questions for you.
Yep.
But until next time,
Fantasy Whispers.
That's Johnny Game Time Hicks, and I'm Big Travy. We're out.
Peace.
Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Whisperers podcast. You can hear more from John and Travis on Google Play, SoundCloud, and iTunes. You can also follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at TF Whisperers.